might. So this is our third class. Oh, here comes Cynthia. Oops. Our Jumpstart Your Joy. Let Cynthia join in. And we're just a couple of days. Hi, Cynthia. We were just getting started. So in the Jumpstart Your Joy, this was intended to be a class to help you prepare for the holidays, to decrease your stress, increase your joy, every day, but particularly as we know the holidays are coming. So hopefully you've gotten some practical tips. We still have a lot to cover tonight. So I'm so excited to begin. Our check-in question for tonight is, share one thing that you are looking forward to during Thanksgiving, since it's the day after tomorrow, or if you want to look at another holiday, but be specific about, what specifically are you looking forward to? Hoping you can find one good thing. So again, if it's not Thanksgiving, choose another holiday. I have a volunteer who wants to go first.
Sure, I'll go first. I'm looking forward to my husband's cooking. He is an excellent chef. And, for about 20 years, I was always the fifth wheel at other people's Thanksgiving. And when I met him, I shared this with him. I said, I'm an immigrant to this country and we never celebrated Thanksgiving. So I'm always, being welcomed to other people's tables. And he said, well, when we get married, you're always going to have your own Thanksgiving. And he's kept that promise, because we do Thanksgiving alone every year, except for there's like 5 years with his mom and dad when they were not doing so well. So we would lug the turkey down there. But nevertheless, he still plans for it, shops for it, prepares for it, cooks for it, and even does the dishes after it's all over. And I sit on the sofa in my jammies watching the Macy's Day Parade, and he keeps coming out like the mad chef with little tastings of this and that. And he plans for it for so long and preps days ahead. So he's like a mad professor. So I'm always hugely grateful that I found somebody who is so nurturing and so loving, and he won't let me do a thing. I'm ushered out of the kitchen. Stay away. I don't want you here. So yeah, it's our thing. So it's kind of sweet.
Wonderful. Oh, that's
Yeah.
precious. Thank
Too
you.
many calories, too much food. We're eating the same thing for 4 days, but
It'll taste good. Sure. Volunteer to go next?
I will. So I'm looking forward to getting together with our daughter. Haven't seen her in a little while, but if it doesn't work out for Thanksgiving, at least sometime between now and Christmas, I'm sure we'll get together. So she lives a couple hours from us. So
Nice. Thank you. Jody, you were going to say.
Oh, I cannot wait. I love family. And the last 2 years, it's just been my own family. And I am so glad that we can all get together again. And I'm so looking forward to it. I love spending time with family. I just do.
Great. Thank you. And Cynthia.
Okay, I'm plugging my computer in because it's, I see it like, it's like I had to go find the cord. Well, I laid in joining because I've been much more aware of joy and what brings me joy and things like that. And, I do love baking. And I have friends who really ask for a particular pumpkin bread. So I've got 2 loaves in the oven now. They're going, as soon as they're done, they're getting delivered. And I'm doing a non-traditional Thanksgiving. We're having salmon and, I'm cooking in advance. I also love it. And I do love entertaining as long as I don't have to clean up too much.
Yeah.
So I think just for me is just being able to cook and then give it away too. And have people, it gives me joy to do that.
Yeah. Great. Good. Thank each of you for sharing that. So part of the intention of having you think about that is choose Thanksgiving or any of the holidays and create a list. What are the things that you really do enjoy? And then if you want to do the list of what are the things you may not enjoy, to be able to see the balance. And hopefully you have gotten or will get even some ideas of how to navigate through the things that aren't quite so cool about the holiday. And keeping that focus on what you really love, it's going to keep you in that joy and not get distracted by those things, because our brain naturally will gravitate to the negative. So it's the retraining our brain. A lot of what we're talking about is being aware of what's in your brain and refocusing it and training it back to what you really, really want. So just a little tip or something to consider doing so that you can keep that vitality through the holidays. So before we jump into tonight's content, which is going to be around the roadblocks, finishing that piece up that we started last week, we'll talk a little bit about being in the driver's seat of your life, and then more techniques for staying in joy. And any questions or comments, follow up from last week?
I would just say it's bringing it front of mind has been helpful because it was a topsy-turvy week. And so I felt it helped me maintain perspective, just to get over things a little faster this week and say, it just doesn't matter, and roll with it. I was talking to myself through some blockades this week. So I think that was from the last session. I had it front of mind, so it was helpful.
Great, thank you.
I feel like some of my roadblocks, once I put them on paper and I addressed them and said, this is something I have as a roadblock or, speed bump. It was easier to look at that and say, okay, I'm not alone. I can get through this.
Mm-hmm.
Yay.
And to focus on something I really want to do every day. That bit of joy helps me get through the rest of whatever I have to do for one thing I look forward to doing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we'll talk more about that tonight too, because I didn't quite get to it last week, but I know it was in the play pages. Cool. I'm glad you thought we're doing that. And I just want to express, Cynthia, you hadn't heard, and so just to share what Jody was sharing earlier. She wasn't here last week. She listened to the tape and she's very grateful for our discussions last week. So we're saying that we all are here and learning from each other. And that's one of the things I love about teaching. It is that I'm the expert and have all the answers. I think it's our combined sharing and coming together. We're here to learn from each other and share the experience. So Jody was expressing that gratitude. I also feel that gratitude for all of you. And I have one thing I wanted to follow up with from last week, because my brain processes things. And, you might remember I was talking about the sensitivity to words, the power of words. And we were talking about words like tired or stressed. And if we're continually saying those, what are we saying to ourselves? So as I was particularly thinking about the word tired and reflected on how some of you use that word. So I'm going to say there's always the full picture perspective. If you say the word tired, but there's no stress to it, no emotion attached to it, it's just a word. I think the reason I was stressing to not say that is that so many times it becomes repetitive, or it has some emotional negativity to it. Like, I shouldn't be tired, so I'm tired, and it just really weights you down. But if you are acknowledging that I'm tired, without the emotion, and you get some rest and the next day you're fine, not a big deal. So putting it in that full context, or if you're trying to break a pattern, because I went into a pattern even fairly recently about, it was tired, and I would say, don't say the word. And then I realized, well, there are times I've been tired, but in a really happy way. Like when I used to hike in the Rocky Mountains, a real strenuous thing, thinner air and whatever, come back, like it was such a happy tired. So I would use this trick with my brain saying, I'm happy tired, to even shift out of it so I could acknowledge one level of, tiredness, but not buy into the negativity or the criticism that I was putting on myself about that. So in kind of summarizing that, it's like, if you can say a word without the emotion attached And even if you say it to someone else, they don't interpret emotion and then put it back on you. So that's that other trick. If we're saying it to others, they might then start putting that negativity on it or something. So just that awareness. I don't need to overtalk things. I sometimes do. So tonight we want to talk about those roadblocks that you don't see coming. So the irony of that is if you don't see them coming, what do you really do? So the reality is it's in hindsight, what do we learn from those situations we encounter? And so my way of thinking of it was to say, well, there's the quick fix. So if you can remember that in the moment, the next time it happens, what can you do for self-management? And then what do you do after that interaction's over in terms of what I'm calling recovery? So some of the notes and details are actually in the play pages from last week. And I apologize, it kind of overlapping between last week and this week, but I'll just overall summarize things. So in the quick fixes, we come back to how often do we hear it's important to breathe, when something happens. And yet I'm a person that, thinking about breathing doesn't help me breathe. However, there are some other techniques that if you're like me, who's more tangible, if I do something with my body, it can help my body relax. So in the play pages from last week, I was talking about mudras. And so are any of you familiar with mudras?
Mhm.
So I'm not going to go into all the science and everything because I don't even know all of that. I just know that there are various ways of positioning fingers primarily that are coordinated with your meridians, and they help your energy flow. So let's just do some together. We're going to be touching our thumb to each of our fingers, and we'll go through it. We'll hold each one for a few seconds, but we're going to start with just holding your thumb and your index finger, and you can rest your hands. However, I'll just show my hands so that you can see, but the idea is to relax. So as we're holding our fingers together, it's actually connecting different meridians to help your body physically make a shift. So then move to your middle finger. And overall, as we do all 4 fingers to your thumb, let's shift to the next one. It creates that sense of calm. But each finger even has its own particular kind of connection, if you will. Let's go to the pinky. So for instance, the pinky touching your thumb helps us with intuition and our feelings. If we go back to the index finger helps with being calm and ability to concentrate. Let's go to our next, the middle finger. This is to help with patience. And then to the ring finger, it's stability and self-confidence. So you just keep doing this, moving from one finger to the next after a few seconds. And so it can help your body to physically relax. I don't know if you're starting to feel more relaxation physically. I know, just coming to the call might have been an active thing and now you're relaxing in general, but, using the mudras may also help with that. So this could be something you practice anytime. And you can do it, when you're seated somewhere and in the midst of a situation, if you can remember to do it, like many things. But if you practice it once in a while, just for the practice of it, you can even do it while you're walking, you can do it while you're sitting, watching TV, just to kind of give your body that muscle memory, the remembering to do it, and, kind of tuck that in the back of your mind as you're going about things. You may remember to do that, and this could be helpful. There's 2 more techniques that engage the body that I hadn't put in any of the notes. So one is crossing your wrists, one to the other, and crossing your ankles. Again, you can just relax your hands, cross your ankles. So again, these positions of the wrists and the ankles, and I don't know all the science behind it. I know I've tried it and it's worked, but you can do comfortably, again, when you're seated at a table, in a meeting, a social situation, anything like that, as a way to help your body physically calm. So the third technique is one that you probably wouldn't do in the midst of what's going on, but it could be that time when you're ready to, move from the situation, have a reason to go to the restroom or something to do, but it's holding neurovascular points. So holding your thumbs against your temples and your fingers, I find it comfortable, just do the first two fingers, but whatever's comfortable, kind of right above your eyes. Yeah. And just, letting your shoulders relax to the extent that you can. And just letting your hands be positioned like this. I'm just fascinated that within a short time, I literally feel myself taking a breath. So neurovascular points, what's that mean? That means it's the vascular is your blood circulation system, and the neuro part is your nervous system, your nerves. So the points we're holding have blood vessels and nerve endings that someone discovered this is actually relaxing us physically, mentally, emotionally. And so times that I've used it, maybe isn't directly related to this thing with roadblocks, but if my brain's getting muddled or I'm frustrated, I can't get my brain really focused, just take a pause to do this. And it can be really calming. So those are just 3 examples of ways that you can trust your body to shift without you having to do a lot of that mental work with it. And because when your body starts to get stressed, it turns into that fight or flight or freeze, your blood circulation gets reduced. And so these are techniques to allow your systems to relax and to get back in alignment. So you get your blood to the brain, you can think more clearly, you can stay calmer. So a few techniques to share with that. So in that moment of it happening, this is a learning after the fact. And it's what are we saying to ourselves? If somebody's saying something that feels like an attack, are you able to remind yourself, I'm okay. This is just a situation that's going on at the moment. Carol was talking last week about what do we tell ourselves during those times when something's happening that, is not comfortable. So, reminding yourself you're a good person. If somebody's asking you to make a decision, that can be something hard sometimes. If you feel like you need to be agreeable, yeah, you'll make a decision even though you're not really ready. You don't know and have enough information. It caught you so off guard. So if you go ahead and make the decision, know that you can change your mind. It's one of those things. And yeah, you might need to do some explaining afterwards, but it's okay. Or if you're able to say, I'm just not comfortable making a decision right now. And, if you can think about, well, I'll get back to you and kind of give a target time, but just let them know you'll get back to them. So it's what are some of those phrases that we can use for ourselves in the midst of those situations? Somebody's bringing up an idea to change something or do something. And you're like, how do you say, well, that's an interesting idea without kind of being agreeable or disagreeable or whatever? How do you find those non-committal comments to be able to say? So thinking about those kinds of conversations and maybe piggybacking on what was shared last week, is there anything that comes to mind that you tell yourself in the midst of that surprise situation that had caught you off guard, and kind of what you've learned from it and have tried since then?
Well, I try to tell myself, I know this is going to work out somehow. I don't know how, but it's going to work out. It always does. I'll just have to be open to what I need to do to make it work out.
Good.
As opposed to resisting and digging in my heels and refusing to do it. Because it is true, it will work out. It always works out. Sometimes to my advantage, sometimes to the other party's advantage, but it will work itself out.
Yeah. It's that faith.
And sometimes I just ask for help. I stop and ask, okay, so friends, please help me out with the most benevolent outcome in this situation, because I may not see it, or I may be more emotional.
Mm-hmm. So Cynthia, if you don't mind my piggybacking on your phrasing and what you're saying, or to ask, to see if I'm clear, see if what I'm understanding is correct, because others might not be aware of some of. So it's the idea of, if you believe in God, prayer, guardian angels, guides, whomever, that mentally she's saying this. Would that be correct, Cynthia?
Yeah, I'm just turning it over to that, whatever everybody calls a higher power. If they believe in a higher power or something beyond themselves, that's in my moment, I kind of recognize that I'm not alone, and I turn it over and say, okay, I'm having some trouble here. I'm turning it over to you to help me through this, and for the most benevolent outcome.
Yeah. So that language of most benevolent outcome, is that surrendering to everybody's going to be okay, even if it doesn't look so at the moment, even knowing that ultimately everyone's getting a lesson they need or going through something, and it's all going to be okay for everybody, even though we might not be consciously aware of what that is. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. So our self-talk is some of the the biggest challenge we have, and kind of might tie back to mindfulness, being aware all the time, not just in these stressful times. So the more you can practice that, the easier it becomes, because there is a flow and a rhythm that we can get in with our day-to-day lives. So once the event is over, whatever it is, the surprise, the bump, the roadblock, whatever it is, that's when you go into that recovery mode. So, the sitting back later, reflecting, if you said something that you wish you hadn't said, forgive yourself, apologize to the other person, whatever it is you need to do, and see the lessons within it. And even realizing that in the whole context of things that happen, if it triggered you, was it also because you were in the middle of something else and just totally disrupted your thinking, and you had this reaction that even surprised you? Were you hungry or tired? How many times do we hear, we're hungry or tired? It's hard to think as clearly. So, just acknowledging whatever it was and being able to learn the lesson or have some reflection on it, or say, well, I might not even know at this point, and I just trust I'm going to have some understanding, and I'll be able to handle it better next time. So it's that being
Compassion.
Yeah, that compassion. Thank you. Perfect word. Compassion for yourself, compassion for the other, and everything that had happened. Yeah. Cool. So I also want to talk about emotional roadblocks. And after our conversation last week, I was able to figure out kind of how I could bring this up. So when I'm talking about emotional roadblocks, it's the things like fear, anxiety, worry that could be undermining us. But it's also, if you do something, there's some focus, some goal you want to accomplish, and you work toward it, and you can never quite get there. There's something that comes up just when you're ready to get it accomplished, or you only get so far. You don't quite get over whatever hurdle or hump it is that's coming up. So that also could just be have actually an emotional component to it, a basis for it happening. So I'll give an example. So for instance, it could be something like, if I have this sense that life has to be hard, I'm always going to spend a lot of time working. I'm not going to let myself relax. There's just always going to be something going on, and can never really feel like I'm breaking through that life gets easier. And so what could be happening is there's something in the subconscious mind, because sometimes we can get at that. We can intellectually understand, oh yeah, I'm working hard all the time and this should be more enjoyable, but can't quite get to the source of it. So the subconscious mind, just to distinguish between the conscious mind, things we're aware of all the time, it's our logical brain, but the subconscious records everything that's happened throughout our lives. So even from the time you're in your mother's womb until today, it's going to remember everything. But the interesting thing about the subconscious is it doesn't know if something's the truth or something's a lie. It doesn't know good from bad. It just records information. And there are a lot of good things in our subconscious, so don't get me wrong. But then there's some of these things that maybe we've misinterpreted something at some point, or there was an emotional charge to something that we're not even conscious of right now. And so those are the things that can be trickier to really get at when they're affecting us. So for example, let's say as a young person, you were playing with your ball, it ran into the street and you ran after it, and your mother shouted at you. She was, just shouting about, you shouldn't run onto the street, you should be careful. And what you're interpreting is, oh no, I'm bad. I've done something bad. I'm a bad person. Or the shouting now, anytime somebody shouts, you kind of get agitated. You might not have a conscious connection of that's where it's coming from. You can, your conscious brain can come up with any number of things that could be causing it, but yet it could be in your subconscious, a misinterpretation. Your mom was shouting just because she was so worried about you. She loved you, and yet it came out in a tone of voice that, again, you may have interpreted even that was shouting, and maybe it wasn't. So it could be any number of things that happen that is in our subconscious that could be affecting us. So the how to deal with that, there's a whole different set of techniques that we'll get to in a moment. But I want to just even review that as people who have done some work around this have looked at what are some of those core things that could be affecting us. Being able to, I'm summarizing it in maybe 8 or 9 of them. So it could be we've misperceived something. And so that's the example I was just giving. Maybe as a child, you misperceive something. And so in some subtle way, it's affecting us today. It could be even as an adult, again, we have some sort of encounter and we interpret something in such a way that, if in fact we were able to step back or have an interaction with somebody to talk it through, they hadn't intended that at all. So it could just be any of those subtle little things that might have happened. But so the misperceptions at any time. We might have limiting beliefs. So we can identify most of our beliefs, but sometimes there are these hidden beliefs that are limiting us. So in the case of having to work hard, somehow I developed that belief that I wasn't consciously aware of or kind of knowing how to navigate through. And so as I reflect on it, it could be, well, as I was growing up, middle child of 7 on a small farm, there were always things to do. And so parents were always busy. There was always things to do. My father outside, my mom in the home. We never took vacations. There was never any really relaxation, playtime that I remember. Doesn't mean it didn't exist, but as I remember, I remember a comment of, the devil's idle hands at the devil's workshop. So that means, I should always be busy, right? So as I reflect on all of that with some assistance of, one of these techniques, the integrative alignment energy work, it's like, now how do I shift my current thinking? Because I don't want that belief anymore. And yet to reframe it, I couldn't go to life is easy because that seemed real unrealistic. I'm a human being now. There's things that happen. So I could rephrase it as, I can make this as easy or as hard as I want. So giving myself the choice, sometimes giving their brain side, but any kind of a limiting belief. It could be something like, it's just normal and natural. I'm going to get old and I'm going to have aches and pains. Well, you could believe that, or you could believe that aches and pains are a signal that something needs attention and choose other ways to look at it. You could have a belief that there's a certain way you need to be with family, friends in public, like how much do you laugh? How do you express yourself? There's certain ways you need to dress that, again, could be, a limiting belief or not, or, anything in between. So it's kind of any number of limiting beliefs. If you do a search on Google, you can come up with any number of articles to talk about all these different limiting beliefs, but that could be one thing that's operating, again, in our subconscious. We might have low self-confidence. We doubt ourselves. We don't challenge ourselves to take that next step or take a big risk for whatever reason. Again, but it just could be affecting us today. We could have concern for our safety, whether it's our physical safety, And if something has happened in the past, that's real, and yet there's an emotional charge. So how do you get that disengaged? It could be concern for our emotional safety. Is again, was there something that literally happened, or was there a misinterpretation at some point? Another core issue is being oversensitive, taking things too personally sometimes, or not sensitive enough, not having that empathy for others. And another common one is not being worthy. You know, do you feel like you don't deserve to be happy? Do you deserve to have financial abundance? Do you deserve to have abundant health in all categories? You know, so there's a worthiness sometimes that we might not even be aware of, that again is just keeping us in a place that may not help us get to our dreams, helping us have that full life that we really want to have. So those are just some of the things that could be operating in a way that's affecting us today. So compared to the roadblocks we can see, that we don't see, that happen, this is kind of an underlying one that, again, might benefit from using different techniques than just our conscious brain to deal with. So some of those techniques, and I did include these in the play pages for today. So one is the integrative alignment energy work that I do, because that's working with both the conscious and the unconscious, and those energies we feel but we don't see. Then there's emotional freedom technique, or EFT, or sometimes called tapping. Are any of you familiar with that? Okay, some nods of yes. So that technique is where you tap certain places, primarily in your face. They're aligned with certain meridians in your body, and you make statements as a way to both access your body and those emotions and subconscious. And then with the choice of words, which it's all a guided system, you can again release that emotional charge. There's one organization that is probably it's probably one of the most popular, if you will. Good solid research information. It's on the resources pages. So I kind of taking a pause to the resources page I created and sent to you a couple days ago, Monday, was yesterday, was to try to put on one page some of the references, both that had been in previous play pages and also some from tonight. So on the resources sheet, there is the listing for emotional freedom technique and the tapping solution, which is the organization that, if you wanted to learn more about it, could be a place to go. I also know people locally, and you know, for those of you who aren't local, you may be able to work with others, you know, from a distance, or find local people. So if you want a little more guidance or information about that, happy to talk to you individually. So that could be another technique, again, engaging the body as well as the mind. Then there's hypnotherapy. And while I haven't done it, from my understanding, it's to relax the conscious mind to be able to access the subconscious, and then to reframe and to shift things for you. And then also working with a counselor or therapist. Sometimes the talk therapy can be very helpful. And some therapists also know some other techniques that will help to access, you know, those emotional charges attached to things that we've experienced. So those are some of the techniques that can be used to get at those underlying things that could be sabotaging us. Let me ask if any of you want to add any comments of techniques you've used, or other methods to use.
I just want to say one thing that I've come across, actually a couple ways, is because I always like want to be busy all the time, or feel like I have to be doing something. And I've seen two things recently. One is, you know, it's okay to take time for yourself. I mean, it's not being selfish, you know, to take time for yourself. And my mind just went blank, and I'm not getting my thoughts out. So when I think of it again, I'll say it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so to follow up, with Laura, as we become aware of these things, this is the track to take exactly of, oh, how do I reframe this? Why do I believe this? And you don't always have to know why. Sometimes it's helpful, but it's also okay to, go, what would I rather feel instead? What are some of these options?
If I could just add 2 cents about the hypnotherapy, we have a lot of sense memory, so that when we get triggered in a certain way, we react a certain way also. So whenever I see so and so, I just get that feeling in the pit of my stomach and my shoulders get tense. So hypnotherapy can help rewire that, so that even if you see that person, you don't have that same physical response. So it kind of cuts the karmic bond, if you will, to past events that you're not even aware of. As Christine said, it's in your subconscious, so it's in the hard wiring of your computer. You don't have access to that. You're just looking at the software on the desktop, And I've seen that be very, very powerful, just to rewire somebody's gut response, their bodily response to a situation. That you come at it kind of backwards. You work on their bodily response, and interestingly, their emotional response shifts.
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. The mind-body connection is just so fascinating to me.
Yeah.
And there's more and more research about different techniques that are just pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Although it's not a mind-body technique, I think meditation gets you there. If you can meditate and go through into your true self and look at your core beliefs. I think that at least when I do it, I'm looking at it and it's reflected back on me what I need to look at. If it's unworthy, well, are people treating me very nicely and kindly or disrespectfully? That's how it's reflected back at me. But I think it's based on my own core belief first. It doesn't get it out of your cellular structure, right? But it does give you a hint of what you need to work on.
Yeah. And you're all in this class to learn ways for your personal growth. And so if we also adopt that as part of who we are and our interest and willingness to learn and try different things, that's to your credit. Because how many people don't go through life with that reflective perspective, and no judgment at all. We are all here, I believe, doing what we need to do. And so I'm just grateful that, you happen to be some folks interested in learning things and sharing things. And I think we all become role models and influencers for others as they see us calm and how we're managing through things. It can be inspiring to others. So we are leading by example. And we can learn from others through the whole process. So I don't want to get too far off on things. So I wanted to bring up that aspect too, because in the overall context of looking at roadblocks, there's just something that led me last week to say, oh, let's look at it from this perspective as well, because it isn't always just that kind of that easy of, we know it's coming, here's what we do, or it's not, and here's how we manage. There's this underlying level that if you're feeling really stuck and not getting ahead, or feel like you're repeating the same pattern, there's probably something that's buried in your subconscious that is sabotaging you. And your ability to get to the subconscious, however you get there, maybe it is through that meditation, mindfulness, or just asking, surrendering to your higher power, your God, creator, whatever you call it, asking that for guidance. How many times things will show up for you too? And then going, okay, I know you got me here. I know you can help me through this too. So the degree that you can connect in that way, and it really is whatever helps you connect. And that self-care through the way, whether it's in knowing you can take time out, having that self-compassion. So other comments then around roadblocks as we're wrapping up that whole section before we transition.
I think that subconscious connection is huge because those are sneaky that you may not be aware of. And so I think that's really a big deal, at least for me, It's like it was underlying there or is underlying there. and influencing every decision and everything about my way of life. And I'm unaware of its influence.
Yeah, and it's layered. So it could be you're thinking, I took care of that. How come it's back again? So there's another layer, some other intertwining, and to realize there's not going to be any one answer and I'm going to be done. This is just delayering, and
Yes,
finding more of the lightness and, more of the joy more often.
Mhm.
So with that, let's transition to our meditation, which will shift us, and then we can talk more about how do we be in the driver's seat and more of these fun techniques that we can do to bring that joy in our lives. So this is a fairly short one, just a few minutes. And if you just want to sit comfortably, just relax, close your eyes if you want to. As we often do, start with your breath and notice your breathing. Sometimes it's good just to take a deeper breath and a nice long sigh. When you take a nice sigh like that, you're getting rid of any stale air in your lungs. You're releasing stale energy, making space for more fresh air. So just let your breathing relax, let your body relax. And as you're relaxing, feel that sphere of golden sparkling energy in your heart. Feel your body relax even more. Feel warmth. Feel that warm energy radiating throughout your body. And as you're relaxing and feeling that energy, you begin to feel lighter. So imagine yourself just floating upwards. And imagine yourself floating even a little higher. You're safe, everything's okay. And as you're rising higher, notice any body sensations. Maybe you're feeling a little tingly or not. Doesn't matter. Just if you have any sensations, acknowledge them. Know that everything's okay. Because in truth, you're in a higher vibration. You're in the vibration of love and joy. So just feel that. Feel the wondrous love. Feel the expanse of joy. Feel that love and joy for yourself. Everything is so good, so grand. Just enjoy it. As we're here now, also imagine that you're in a shower of golden, sparkling energy. This golden energy flows over you and into your body. It's almost like golden glitter coming down, but it's just light, sparkly energy. We can add some platinum sparkles, even some little black holes. It's just a wonderful, nurturing, loving energy. Now we're going to shift our energy and bring our focus back to your heart. And if you want, you can put one or both hands on your heart. Just feel the love, joy, and gratitude. Maybe even a gentle smile comes to your face. Just enjoy the wonderful feelings. As we're preparing to come back to the room, know that you can revisit this relaxed feeling, this higher vibration, and golden shower anytime at all. It is time to come back to the present. So when you're ready, take a deeper breath and bring your attention back to the group. Stretch or sigh or anything you want to do. So I'll have that recording as a separate one so you can listen to that anytime you might like as well. It's intended for that relaxation and just being able to move into that higher, joyful, loving vibration. So we're getting in the driver's seat of life. A couple of the techniques that are fun to throw out. Cynthia was referring to having something to look forward to every day. So actually, we learned this from someone in another group that we're in. So what this is all about is literally just thinking any particular evening, could be for even tonight, think about, what can I look forward to tomorrow? And so why would we do that? There's a couple of reasons. One, doesn't it feel good? It's going to lighten our spirit. So something to look forward to could be, you're getting together with someone. It could be, simple, something like, there's a certain food I like. I'm going to have that tomorrow. It could be a certain activity you like to do, a hobby. It could be any kind of a thing that is something that would have meaning for you that you want to look forward to the next day. So going back to the why, it literally is to lighten our spirits. And yet, even more importantly, it's about you are taking initiative in your life and you're setting intentions in your life. Life can take over of us. I have this to do. This is the time I get up. This is my routine in the morning. You go through your day, you're doing good work, you're even smiling, you're positive. And yet it kind of comes back to, are you fully there all the time? And are you doing something for you with that intention? So it could even be some of the normal things you do. If you're thinking about it, I want to do that. I'm looking forward to doing that. It puts a different spin on it. And so it's one of those things to consider doing just for that very reason. It'll give you that little more incentive. So you're going to bed at night even, I'm going to look forward to that tomorrow. Can you put you in a different space? I'm waking up. I have this to look forward to today, not just it's another day that I'm going to be living. So one thing that I've even noticed could potentially happen, you start off doing something you really enjoy. You think, I enjoy this. It becomes a routine. And then there's one day you do it and it's like, that didn't feel special. I'm like, was I mentally checked out? What was going on? So it could be like taking a walk. You do it will become so routine. You're then not paying attention to what you're really seeing. It lost some of that sparkle or something to look forward to. So just dust it off. Why am I taking this walk? Or, knowing that I need to walk things out. So it's going to be a different context. So it just kind of self-awareness again, mental mindsets. So going to just put you on the spot. What's something you could look forward to tomorrow? If anybody thinks of anything you want to share.
I'm having a massage.
Yay.
Ooh,
Yay.
my bliss. Yeah.
Well, actually, I did something this morning that I looked forward to. A bowl of oatmeal, and it's interesting that the 3 weeks that we're doing this joy class are also doing 3 weeks of mindfulness. And one thing they talked about is like, just when something that you like to eat, be there mindfully, and the texture of it, the taste, the smells, and and so I did it a little bit with my oatmeal.
Yeah.
So it can be something simple like that, of just to give yourself like a little mini vacation.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it can be magical. And, if one day you don't quite get there, well, just noticing that. And that's okay too. If it can become one of those positive habits, and yet with that clear intention, keeping it fresh. So even if you kind of repeat the same thing more than once, not a big deal. It's that mindfulness that you bring to it. So the second way to stay in that driver's seat of life is to change things up, do things a little differently once in a while. And so that's one could be a little tricky because you might think, well, I like my routines. I don't really need to have a lot of change in my life. And yet the reason to practice doing some things differently is that it'll help you be more flexible and resilient when things do happen that you can't control. If you've always done the same things and you rely on that, then when, oops, there's no toilet paper on the shelves, there's no, your favorite peanut butter brand isn't on the shelf, there's no whatever that you wanted to buy available in the grocery store, something happens, do you get really upset or go, okay, I can go with this, I can be flexible, and I know there's going to be things that I can't control, but there are some I can control my reaction to it. And if you're practicing doing things differently, then it's not quite such a shock to you mentally, emotionally, potentially physically. So you can think about when you're driving somewhere, and you use different streets. And so through this, the whole point is keeping an open mind, a curious mind, paying attention too. So it could be, oh, you notice something you'd never noticed before. You never would have known, this particular business that opened up or one that closed, or maybe you notice something with the seasons because you're in a different area or something. That was the brand example. But just, looking at the routes you travel when you're walking, driving, it could be intentionally try a different food than you've never tried before, a different brand. Do you like it or not? And allowing that curious mind, and there's no right or wrong. It's just, let me try it out, And if you're with others as family or anything, you could even make this into a game. Oh, let's try something different. Should we go to a different restaurant? Or challenge each other when you're going to your favorite restaurant, choose a different food. Or there's any number of ways you can make it into a fun activity with others if they might be open to, again, having that practice with flexibility, resiliency that you can build along the way. It could be as simple as noticing which shoe do you put on first. Put on the other one first. One really goofy example is brushing your teeth with your opposite hand. I find that one really challenging. So, you don't have to get really crazy about it, but just think about what are those things that I can, by choice do, and I can have that curious, open mind and might discover new things. Would you be willing to go, if you're a coffee drinker or whatever you enjoy first thing in the morning, you're willing to do without that one morning? What would your life be like? But again, you can do it to whatever degree. The point is, again, you're in that driver's seat, that when something does come up that you can't control, there's a greater likelihood, because you've been practicing this, that it'll be easier to flow. If any of you noticed that, like, have you had some of those encounters, things not being in the grocery store, something switching up that you didn't expect, and how you've been able to just go with that flow?
Well, even today I had to pick something up at Walmart, and I never go to Walmart, but we have this card now through the healthcare, and we can get supplements, except out of the 7 items I ordered online, 6 of them weren't available. And I had to wait in line with all the cars and try and get help. And okay, that was a little frustrating, but what do you mean none of these things are available? They're all sold out? Well, yeah, supply, demand. And I went right to CVS, and I'm walking up and down the store, and a lot of the shelves were empty. And I thought, these are different times we're in, and we just have to settle for what's there and know it's going to get better. It's just, we just have to wait till things rebound. But this is a sort of an eerie time to be in, when what we're so used to, this affluent society that we're in, we're used to stocked shelves and plenty of service and all that. When it begins to fragment, routines change, feelings change. So I just had that today. I was like, okay, I could either get really bent out of shape about it, I could get scared about it, or I could say, you know what, this is temporary. And that's what I opted for.
Yeah.
I got myself home. Well, I guess I get home sooner then.
Finding that silver lining. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. That's exactly what we're talking about. So now
Well, I usually meet two people for coffee like once a month, and I tried a different way, but instead of going, I went on a freeway, and it was a different freeway. And of course, I wasn't paying as much attention, and I got on going the wrong direction.
Mm.
So I had to go down, loop around, come back. And I was a little bit like 10 minutes late for the coffee. And I kept telling myself, oh, wow, you tried something new, but you weren't quite awake while you were driving here. You weren't quite present. So you got to try it again. And this one person was ribbing me for getting there late. And I said, okay, well, here's another little example. I said, it's not a deal. You were here. It didn't stop you from getting your coffee. I'm here now. Hello,
Yeah, so you don't need to take on the guilt or anything from them that they're kind of trying to put off. Yeah. Yeah.
But it did take some effort to okay, I'm going somewhere new. I better pay a little bit more attention. I can't be on autopilot and I'm on the wrong freeway. The wrong direction.
You've never done that.
Yeah.
So it doesn't always turn out perfectly.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's that being okay with it. So yeah, and perfect. Great example of how you manage through that. And when we're with others and we can have that ease about it, that helps put them at ease. If they still bombard us and try to put it off on us, that's where it's keeping I did the best I can, whatever, I'm sorry, this is upsetting to you, can we, and then focus it forward. Yeah. So what's happening next? So, how can we just, shift the conversation?
Yeah, it's like this person squawking at me. It's like she was just trying to rib me, but it's like, it didn't stop you from getting your coffee.
Right.
And you were visiting with this other person. I'm here now. Hello, happy to be here. Not a deal.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't a deal for me, why should it be a deal for her?
Right. And it could be her style of humor, which isn't your style of humor and doesn't always feel good to receive that in that way. And some people, don't necessarily see that.
And I don't think she meant anything by it, but it was like, poking. It's
right.
Like, okay,
right.
Not a deal.
Yeah. 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 So those are two examples, how to be in the driver's seat. You're setting your intention by, having something to look forward to, changing things up. It's the little things that'll just keep some of that spice in your life. Takes a little bit of that thought. And yet, once you kind of find a rhythm for it, can be something that, is kind of fun to look forward to. All right. So almost a segue into laughter, as Cynthia was talking about the ribbing. We get to shift gears into the techniques to raise your vibration, build your capacity for joy. And laughter is one of those ways. And I could talk a lot about laughter because, that's one of my things. And I'll try to not say too much and just let's do a few things to laugh. So I'll preface all of this by saying that there's been a lot of research that shows that laughter has many health benefits for us, and they're listed on your play page. And, there's physical benefits, everything from helping your heart, your lungs, your boosting your immune system, the mental benefits, the emotional benefits. And so I'd like to engage us in a little laughter. And the way we're going to do this is we're going to start with just a chuckle. So we just all chuckle together. And then I'm going to use my hands as a signal. As my hand rises, if you would just laugh more heartily, let it move from a chuckle to a heartier laughter. And by the time it gets really high, it'll be a full-on belly laugh. And to the extent you want to participate, if you just want to listen, that's fine. If it gets contagious, you want to join in, that's okay too. If you just want to observe. So we're just going to give ourselves an opportunity to laugh, to kind of chuckle, to laugh. So let's start with a chuckle. Can you laugh a little bit? A little more. A little more. A little more. Keep laughing. You can bring it down. Oh, hi again. Oh, very good. So as you notice, I was intentionally keeping us laughing for a while because it's that longer, more sustained laughter that gives you the health benefits. And yet any amount of laughter and being lighthearted is good in your life. So think of laughter on this continuum of there's the basic chuckle for a few seconds, there's the sustained laughter. And if you do after activities for a period of time, 20, 30 minutes, it actually becomes aerobic exercise, believe it or not. So just like exercise, there's a little bit, you're going to get a little benefit. The more you do, the more benefit you're going to get. So laughter is the same thing. So let's talk about how do you bring laughter into your life? What kinds of things help you laugh? Like, is it movies, videos, that kind of thing? Who likes those to laugh?
Oh, yeah. Mhm.
Yep.
Okay. So anybody like have animals to play with or watch nature and animals to get some
yeah.
laughter in? Okay. Kids, do you laugh with kids?
Yep. Yeah.
That's a real common one. What are some other things you do to just get some laughter in?
Comedy shows.
Yeah.
I like to read comedy because that's more unusual. I like to be, surprised by something that's hilarious in a story, maybe an autobiography or whatever.
Uh-huh.
I find that really uplifting.
Yeah. Cool.
Love Tina Fey's.
I'm sorry.
I love Tina Fey's.
Oh,
Yeah.
Tina Fey. So I encourage folks, just think about what it is that helps you lighten up and laugh and to seek it out just because of the health benefits. It's another tool. Some people connect with that concept and some people don't. And so I respect that as well. So here's another way that I bring laughter into my life. So this is a Happy Pill, and it's a plush toy. It's about 6, 7 inches tall. It has this little thing you press, and it's a child's laughter. So, as a Happy Pill, you can press it just once, your dosage. You could press it several times. So it's the kind of contagious laughter that if you want something to help you get started laughing, this is a handy little thing. I've given reference information on the resource page because there happens to be a place in Cleveland that I purchased them from. And the reason I like them is that you can buy one or as many as you want, and you can choose the colors of your Happy Pill. There's always 2 colors. You can select the colors you enjoy the most. Compared to if you go to many sources, you have to buy a package of so many, you don't get a choice of colors. So if you might want to invest in a Happy Pill, there's $5 in shipping. So it's just one of those things that if you like an external stimulator of some sort, that's handy. Many people find that listening to a baby laugh is really uplifting. So kind of how I approach the laughter and encourage people to think about laughter. If you want to bring more laughter into your life, you want that reason to laugh, and you know that there's the health benefits. Children laugh hundreds of times a day. And yet as adults, how often do we laugh? And can we laugh at ourselves? So in truth, if you look at the dictionary words, again, me going back to some of this, laughter is just a sound. It's a joyful sound. So it isn't necessarily connected to jokes, comedy, the cognitive brain that's engaged to release the laughter. I mean, that's real too. And yet kids have none of those cognitive abilities and they're just laughing. So it's my belief that we get deprogrammed, as we grow up. We're told not to laugh, or there's certain times to laugh, or maybe you discover that your laugh is different than other people's laugh, and now you're self-conscious or you're awkward. You laughed at that moment that it shouldn't have laughed. And so if we want to kind of get reconnected to that sense of it's just a sound, we could laugh anytime. If you stop and think about it, when you're washing your hands, you could laugh. Why not? It's a sound. Excuse me. And the stress buster I talked about a few weeks ago, the movement and sound, this can be the movement and the sound is a laughter. Ha ha. Just even the ha 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 ha. shifts your energy. So think of it as a sound if you want. Ha ha is even kind of a chant. Ha 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 ha. And isn't interested, it becomes a laughter. So just one of those things to consider. A few comments about laughter yoga that I lead. There are no yoga poses. We just do laughter activities. Like this one is called laughter gradient. We start with a chuckle, we make it into a laugh. And then we do deep breathing like you do in yoga, and we do a relaxation at the end like in yoga. So let's do another laughter fun thing, because this is a way to help us rewire our brain, reprogram how we react to situations. And this might happen during Thanksgiving meal or anytime, any day. We drop food on our clothes. Let's pretend we've dropped food on our clothes and let's laugh about it instead of getting super stressed. And pretend and gesture and make faces.
Oh.
It's my new shirt.
Oh.
So again, having that sustained laughter while we're doing a pretend, we're actually telling our brain there's another way I can react to situations. So in laughter yoga sessions, we do a variety of things to help us start reprogramming our brain. And it's kind of amazing how it can happen. Like one woman said that, she was driving on the highway, missed her exit, and she laughed. And there are even people with her, and she's like, she was just laughing, so it even helped put them at ease. So when we can laugh at ourselves, we can laugh at these things. It helps our resiliency, and we can influence others. Just remembering the ha 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 when something happens or you're getting stressed can again be that mental and physical connection you're vocalizing. So if you're interested in learning more about laughter, participating in this lighthearted laughter, the laughter yoga, I lead a free Zoom meeting every Wednesday evening, 7:30 to 8. You're welcome to join that anytime.
I highly recommend it. I participate most of the time, and even if it seems odd, I always get off feeling better. So it's just the laughter.
And we're very welcoming community. Even people when they're coming the first time going, they're self-conscious and everything. And yet people have said we are how we're welcoming we are. And once we get started, you just can't resist joining in. But it is truly this lighthearted pretend mode. Like last week we were pretending we're a basketball player. So we just make gestures and we laugh while we do these things. So we use arm movements as much as possible to get our blood circulating and, just getting us fully engaged. So that's how it, over this period of time then of a half hour, it becomes aerobic exercise. So there is the link on your resource page. You can go directly to that. I also, if you just want to get a weekly email about laughter, every Tuesday I send an email. It has a 1-minute laughter video that I make each week. It's just so if you want somebody to laugh with, because some people say, I don't have anybody to laugh with. Well, for 1 minute, you can laugh with me. I'll replay it as many times as you want. But so I make a video. It has the Zoom link to the weekly laughter yoga. And a couple times a month, I provide facts or information about laughter, just reminding us of, yes, we feel good. And here's even a deeper understanding about what's going on. So we appreciate it maybe even a little bit more. I also have links to a couple of videos on the resource page. So if you just want a few stimulators, those are a couple things to just access.
I really appreciate all those resources, Christine. Thank you.
You're welcome. And if any of you have some things to share too, want to make sure we have time to share those. So that's just a little bit about laughter. And I encourage you, and so maybe even just think about lighting up. With the holidays coming up, are you a person that's comfortable wearing a Santa hat? Do you have jewelry or things? Sometimes that lightening up we can do through our jewelry, our dress, St. Patrick's Day, so there's common times that if there's that lighthearted spirit that you want to give permission to express, could be some things to do. If there are things around your home that will help you stay in that lighter, lighthearted spirit, just think of what are those little things you can do? Or engage in conversation. So just to share this was the focus of the 1 minute laughter this week, of saying, well, if you're having any Thanksgiving get-togethers, if you laugh regularly at these things, perfect, fine. And or do you want to have the laughter challenge, 30-second laughter challenge? So set your stopwatch on your phone and challenge everybody. Can we laugh for just 30 seconds? You know, are we willing to just laugh that long? Because people aren't used to laughing continuously for 30 seconds. So that's making me think that we should do that now. Let's laugh for 30 seconds. Can we do it? Here we go. Stopwatch has started. Let's laugh. You can change the vocalization. We're almost there. 5. We did it. Not that hard. And actually, that's how I got started when COVID started, and I was reading some information from the founder of Laughter Yoga, and he was encouraging laughing on your own. And I would literally start setting my timer just to challenge myself. And so once you get used to the sound of your laugh, it can be just a delightful way to, again, shift your energy. So I'll stop talking about that. On to other techniques to bring that joy into our life, build our capacity. I was just talking about dress, but just even think about, are there certain outfits or clothes that you feel good in? You know, so in those times, especially when it might be a situation where, you want to feel more confident, put on those special clothes, or think about when you're shopping, what are those things that help you feel good? That's okay. That can help you bring that lightness, bring that positivity. Maybe you have a special, piece of jewelry that you wear, so it's that intention and just thinking about, yeah, this is legit. This, might not seem like one of those appropriate things to do if we're trying to raise our vibration, but in fact, it could be the real grounding piece that can help us. So, nurturing yourself. What are some things you do to nurture yourself? Carol's getting a massage. You're talking about how fabulous that is. What are other things you do?
Facial.
Oh, yes. I could use one of those. So,
Epsom salt bath with or essential oils.
yeah. So just think of those things and know that, again, you're worthy.
A cup of tea.
Yeah, I guess my vote.
Yeah, so give yourself that time and that nurturing. Celebrating yourself, celebrating your accomplishments. Do we stop and take notice? Give yourself a little treat of some sort. Things that we can do to, revitalize. That rest part, as I'm learning, is equally important to the activity part. Having a support system, if you have people you can talk with, people that you vent with, and you have a common philosophy, can be very helpful in keeping your energy going. Debrief situations, things like that. Seeking out inspiration. Carol talked about, even from laughter and lightheartedness, some biographies, but there are books that you've read that are inspiring, or there are websites, stories that help you be inspired. Maybe there's your religion or your spirituality is something that gives you inspiration. So it's just another one of those ways when we're in that spiral somewhere and feeling like we're not at the place we want, or we want to get higher. Sometimes that inspiration can be helpful. So another email I send, so I send 2 emails every week. So another one I send is at the end of the week, and it's just a short quote and a thought to ponder. So if you're interested in receiving that one, I can add your email to that list. You can do one or both, and just let me know anytime if you're interested in that. So let's share some of the things. Maybe they're inspirational things. Maybe there are other things that you do that help you stay in that positive, uplifted energy. What else do you do? Or any specific books or things like that, websites?
Well, I find meeting a good friend for coffee where we can just talk uninterrupted and share about each other's lives, that for me is so uplifting. Just making that connection. I actually prefer that way over getting together in a group. I like that one-on-one interaction. It's a, kind of a very special, it's a way to honor the friend in a way. So I like that.
Yeah, yeah, excellent. Nice to have that person to do it with.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Music always uplifts my spirit, and it's a good way to be with your friends and kick back. And I love music.
Fabulous. May I ask if you have a special type of music that you enjoy most?
Oh, I mean, I love jazz, I love Broadway, and I keep both of those in my life all the time.
Great. Yay. Yeah, music.
Yeah, it was great to see you enjoy the show that you came to.
I did. It was, I don't know, there's just something about jazz music. It uplifts your soul.
So if I may share, Carol's a singer, and she recently had a performance that Jody and I both had gone to, and many other people. Very, very delightful.
Thank you.
So if you happen to think of anything and want to share it with all of us, you have our emails. If you want to send it to me, I can send it out if you want. So as we're getting closer to our wrap up too, I'm just looking at the resources page. So just kind of going back to that, I've broken it down by the categories of topics. And some of the things, as I said, I repeat from what was in some of the other play pages. And then there's some new things. I tried to include like websites, so it would be clickable. So if you just want to do a quick check. I mentioned energy and vibration books. So those are, again, a variety of things that I've used. And if you're interested in knowing more about any of these things, I'm happy to talk with you about them. But just kind of a random collection of resources and as I'm trying to share as many techniques and resources as possible. So you have this toolkit,
Great.
things that you can do to have that uplifted feeling.
I thank you for it. I do.
Yeah, the resource page is a great idea. I'm looking forward to looking at some of those. I don't know which one it was, but I did bring up one of them. I think it was the brainy quote one. And that one looks like it'd be really good. So, and back to one of our other sessions when we were talking about gratitude. I had this little magazine, I was flipping through it, and this woman was saying how she walks up the stairs to her work. And so with each flight of stairs, she thinks of something that she's grateful for. And so by the time she gets to her office, she has 8 things that she's grateful for that day.
Yeah.
8 flights of stairs, that's pretty darn good.
Yeah, yeah.
That would be number 1 on my list.
I'd just be grateful I made it to the top.
Yeah, 8 flights all at once.
Yeah.
One things I love about Thanksgiving is that for me, it's about gratitude. And so I often create gratitude lists or, make a wall graffiti board or something like that, because it just seems to be the season that fosters it even more. And yet having a practice for me of regularly doing that is very enriching.
Also a vision board. I do a vision board every December. And I used to do it with a whole group of friends. And then when COVID hit, we hadn't met. So I started it with my children now.
Good.
So last year was our first
Great.
year doing it together. And now we set our date today for our next one.
Great. Yeah. Thank you for saying that. I had forgotten about that. And I've done them once in a while and find that they are really helpful. And it's good to keep doing them and some people do them in different categories, one just for relationships and one for work or, different things. Some people combine them. So yeah, there's lots of stuff out there about vision boards.
Yep, they don't know it yet, but I'm adding a joy box to it from your class. They don't know this yet. I'm like going like this weekend to go get all the supplies, and I'm telling them when we're done, we've got one more project to do.
Wonderful.
Oh, I love it. Thank you. I actually got that idea of some of the joy things and some of these techniques actually from the book called Council of Light. And it's divine transmissions for manifesting the deepest desires of the soul. So this woman channels information, and the book is based on the different vibrational levels of things, and lots of activities and reflection things that a couple years ago when I was reading it became very powerful. And has
That
really,
book on here?
yes, it is. It's under energy vibration books on the page 2.
Perfect.
Not as a joy one. It's like, I didn't see that one.
Yeah.
I got you. Okay.
And the energy medicine is Eden energy medicine that I just started learning about, and I'm not sure how much I'm going to study it, but that's where the neurovascular points one came from. And they have there's something called a daily routine, that different things that you work with your different energies that can help you stay more balanced. So that's a real interesting resource as well. But stay tuned. We'll see if I do more work with that. But speaking of other things coming up, one of the topics I wanted to include in this class, however, it didn't really seem to fit from the amount of time to cover it, is around visualizing. Because visualizing can also be a tool to help you kind of set the world that you want to live in, kind of like a vision board. And so I'm thinking about creating that class, and in a few months we'll offer that. So stay tuned. Other than that, if there's other topics you're interested in, if there's certain aspects of what we've covered that you're like, oh, I want to learn more about that, let me know, because I'm creating the business and I'd love to teach. I'd love to share information. So open to your suggestions. I also will appreciate any feedback about this course. So on Friday, I will send the weekly inspirational encouragement email that I was sending as part of the class. And then separately, I'll send just an email asking for a little feedback if you want to offer anything to share about what you liked, or what could be improved. Obviously the play pages got a little convoluted as I was evolving the course, and that may or may not have, so anyway, there's things I know I want to polish, and again, just welcome any feedback that you might have. So as we're wrapping up, I just wanted to do kind of the review. Oh, go ahead, Cynthia.
Christine, I've got a question on the access to the meditations and the review, the recordings. So how long are those valid?
Indefinite. I don't have any plan to turn them off. Okay. They're actually housed in YouTube, but it's a setting I put on it so that only people who I give the link to can access it. So like the class recordings, nobody will ever get. Some of the meditations I might share with others at some point, but it won't affect your access at all.
I just didn't know if we stopped our access as soon as this stopped.
Thank you for asking. No, it's still going to be available.
Thank you.
Yeah. So we started off a few weeks ago, we were talking about joy, the joy list, the joy box. We talked about that energy funnel and then the spiral. We talked about gratitude, related it to, feelings of being thankful and appreciation. And we talked about affirmations and the power of words. We talked about the roadblocks you can see and how you navigate. You don't see how you navigate emotional roadblocks, the laughter, being in the driver's seat of life. And so all of this with that intention of helping you reduce your stress, increase your joy, give you lots of practical techniques. And, it sounds like, and I appreciate your feedback, you've gotten some nuggets, and that was really my intention, to share what I can so that you have some things that could be helpful for you, other ways to think of things. And so I want to express my gratitude to each one of you for joining me in this class. It's truly been a pleasure, and I know we'll all see each other in different settings. And
Mhm.
so I also just want to say, if you have questions about anything, anytime, or just want to chat, let's do that. You know, we don't have to be bound by certain relationships of the fact you've been in this class. And, you know, there's some things I do for fees. And now I'm also just personally want to connect with each one of you, continuing the connections that we have. So
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah. Anything any of you want to share, ask about?
I'm grateful that each person has joined in because they've contributed in a way that has helped me as well. So thank you to everybody. Thank you, Christine, for creating this resource and outlet for us all.
My pleasure.
Yes, I'm
Oops.
grateful to all of you too. Even when I wasn't here, you helped me through something that you didn't even know about, but I thank you all as well.
It's the magic of life. Doesn't always feel that way. And yet that's what I really appreciate about having this kind of in-person class versus, you know, doing something just totally online, independent. We don't get the same dynamic.
I like the community.
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
And we all live in different places.
Right.
So this makes it real easy. So don't need to belabor this. A part of me is sad to see it ending. And another part knows that I'm going to keep seeing each of you, and that's a delight. And, you know, if there's other things that I'm doing in the future and you join in, it'll be a delight again. And yet I know we all have our paths and whatever. So there's no expectation on my part either. So wishing you a wonderful, wonderful, fabulous Thanksgiving and whatever other holidays you're celebrating in the near future or over whatever time. Just know we're moving into the season where kind of everything shifts, and, you know, it's a fascinating time.
And you all a happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Yes.
Giving to everyone and happy holidays. And yeah, take the information. Happy to see you another time.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And if you come up with any more classes, email us, please. It's been
Yeah.
most enjoyable.
Yeah. Thank you.
Very unexpected and very good.
Yay.
Thank you.
Well, enjoy.
Thank you. Take care, everybody.
Take care and
Bye.
good night. Thank you, Christine.
My pleasure.